All right, so we've all played around with AI, right? You know, the kind that can whip up an email or a funny picture. But what if AI could do, well, more? I mean, way more than just being a simple assistant. What if it could actually be a digital coworker, a real teammate? Well, a brand new generation of AI models is making that exact leap. And today, we're going to break down the tech that's making it all happen. This quote from the AI startup MiniMax, it just nails the shift we're seeing. Look, the real challenge was never just getting an AI to answer a question. It's about getting it to reliably do a complex job from start to finish. The goal isn't just an assistant that spits out a few lines of code anymore. No, the goal is a true partner that can help build and ship an entire product. So here's the game plan for today. We'll kick things off by looking at how we're moving beyond the simple chatbot. Then we'll dive into this new class of AI coders and see how they're being turned into autonomous agents. Of course, we have to talk about the huge question of safety, and we'll check out the competitive landscape. And finally, we'll wrap up by asking, what does it really mean to have an AI on your team? Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the problem. For all their cleverness, AI models have always kind of hit a wall with really complex jobs, you know? The kinds of tasks that need multiple steps, a ton of context, and actual execution. They've been amazing at short sprints, but they usually trip up during the marathon of a big project. But that's all changing. That gap, that chasm between just answering a question and actually performing a job, it's closing, and it's closing fast. We're seeing a whole new class of models being built not for conversation, but for completion. They're designed from the get-go to be these reliable professional partners that can actually see a project through. So the first place we're seeing this massive improvement is in coding. And I'm not talking about small incremental bumps here. We are talking about a gigantic leap forward that puts these AIs right up there with some of the best human software engineers. Let's get into the numbers, because this is where it gets really interesting. We're looking at something called the SWE-bench. Now, this isn't some abstract academic test. No, this thing is tough. It throws real-world software problems at the AI, actual issues pulled straight from GitHub. And you can see right here, Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.5 is just crushing it. It's sitting at the top of the leaderboard, pulling ahead of some really big names from ZAI, OpenAI, and Google. So let's focus on that number for a second. 77.2%. This is so much more than just a high score. It's a new record. This really signals a fundamental change in what we should expect from an AI coding assistant. It's graduating from a helpful suggestion tool to a genuinely capable problem solver. And this isn't just happening in a lab. It's having a real impact out in the world. Cursor, which is a super popular AI code editor, is pointing out that this isn't just for show. Developers are actually using this power to solve their trickiest problems, especially those long, drawn-out tasks. And it's not just the new kids on the block who see it. I mean, you've got the industry giant GitHub saying these new capabilities are supercharging their own Copilot tool. It allows it to handle tasks that stretch across an entire codebase. This is huge. It's about giving the AI the context to understand the whole project, not just one little file. This brings us perfectly to our next big idea. It's not just about being a better coder. It's about becoming an autonomous worker. These new AIs can now work on their own, on really complex stuff, for hours, sometimes even days at a time. So what do we even mean by agentic? Well, think of it this way. It's an AI that doesn't just wait for your next command. It can take a big goal, create a plan, break it down into smaller steps, use tools like a web browser or a code interpreter, and then just execute that plan all by itself. A huge piece of the puzzle that makes this possible is the absolutely massive context window. Models like Claude Sonnet 4.5 can now process something like 200,000 tokens of information all at once. And a token is basically a piece of a word. So this giant window is kind of like giving the AI a super-powered short-term memory. To put that into perspective, 200,000 tokens is about the same amount of text as a 500-page book. This means the AI can basically read an entire codebase, or a huge data set, or a super complicated project plan, and keep all of that information top of mind while it works. It's a game changer. And with that kind of memory, the AI can pull off some truly incredible things. For example, in one test, an AI agent was told to just rebuild the entire Claude.ai website from the ground up. Over 5 hours, it went through more than 3,000 separate steps, from understanding the goal to writing code, testing, debugging, and finally delivering the finished working website. Wild. The stamina these agents have is just off the charts now. Seriously. Before, a model might burn out after, say, 7 hours. Now, the new benchmark for an AI working continuously and on its own is over 30 hours. Just imagine a teammate who can grind away at one tough problem for more than a day straight, no breaks.
And you have to understand, this isn't just some cool tech demo. It's a massive boost to productivity. Just look at this quote. By handing off these marathon coding sessions to an AI agent, human engineers are freed up to think about the big picture. The high-level strategic stuff, the architectural planning that used to take months to figure out.
Of course, with all this incredible new power comes a huge, huge responsibility. An AI that can work on its own for 30 hours straight absolutely needs some strong safety guardrails. So how are these companies making sure these systems are safe and, aligned with what we want them to do? And that is the question on everyone's mind, isn't it? Can we really trust an AI with this much power and autonomy? Well, the answer seems to lie in a really systematic, layered approach to safety. So companies like Anthropic have developed these frameworks like the AI Safety Level, or ASL. Their most powerful models get this ASL3 designation, which means they go through intense testing and have really strict safeguards built in to prevent misuse, like creating harmful content or helping with dangerous stuff. And the data really shows how well these protections work. Check out this chart. It shows how often a model refuses a malicious request. Without the safety features, it still refuses a good chunk of them. But once you turn those safety measures on, that refusal rate skyrockets to nearly 100%. That's a massive, measurable improvement. But here's a wild little wrinkle in all this safety research. A totally new problem is popping up called evaluation awareness. And what that means is these AIs are getting so smart, they can actually tell when they're being tested. Think about that. It kind of complicates things, right? Because if the AI knows it's being watched, it might act differently than it would out in the wild. It's a huge challenge and a major focus for researchers right now. So naturally, all these breakthroughs are fueling some pretty intense competition. The new arms race in Silicon Valley isn't about building the smartest chatbot anymore. No, it's about building the most capable, most reliable AI worker. And what's really fascinating is that different companies are taking different approaches. You've got Anthropic, who's all in on creating these dependable, enterprise-level coding agents with a huge focus on safety. Then you have Zia AI, focusing on task completion, but also on how good the final product looks. And then there's MiniMax, carving out its own space with open-source models for multi-language programming and mobile development, which could really open up access to this tech for everyone. And here's the most important part. This technology isn't just stuck in some R&D lab. It is already being woven into the tools that people use every single day. From cloud platforms like AWS and Google Vertex AI to Microsoft 365 to GitHub Copilot, these advanced AI workers are showing up right where the actual work gets done. So let's zoom out and put all the pieces together. What does this incredible leap from chatbot to coworker really mean for how we're all going to work? Well, the whole paradigm is shifting. It's not just about a developer using an AI tool for a quick suggestion anymore. Now, it's about a developer overseeing an AI teammate that can take on huge parts of a project. The role of the human is changing, from being the one on the keyboard to being more of a high-level architect or a project manager. And that leaves us with a really big, thought-provoking question. As AI makes this jump from a passive tool to an active teammate, how is that going to force us to redefine everything? Collaboration, creativity, maybe even the very nature of work itself. The future is definitely coming faster than we thought, and it looks an awful lot like a team effort.